Welcome back to the ABL review for Season 18, Week 6 of the ABL West. Trying a little different screen setup here. Hopefully it'll make me forget my transitions a little less. But yeah, let's just hop into this here. So, missed a battle. The Salem Shadow Balls and the Detroit Dragapults were not able to get their battle done. Drew was willing to forfeit, so Darren gets a win there. Keeps him in the hunt for the postseason. But let's hop into the battles that did happen. So we've got my battle here versus Chris to start off with. So sorry, getting some set up over here on the side. Okay, so let's hop into this. I've got the Sandy Shocks lead. I am terrible at picking leads. I saw his team and I'm like, oh, I have no idea what the fuck I'm gonna do. But Scarf Sandy Shocks, I figured I can volt switch on literally everything. And if he brings in his Iron Treads to block me, that's fine. I have a pretty reliable switch in Bramblegast, so I figured it would be fine. And that's pretty much what happened here. And then I go into my fully Spadef Vaporeon, eat that Earth Power like it's nothing. Gonna fire off an Ice Beam here. And Annihilate coming in was a big wake-up call because I realized I have very few things to deal with Annihilate well, because it does have that perfect coverage. I either need like a very defensive Pokemon that is able to like just tank any defensive hit, which resists or not is at least neutral to both of its stabs, which I don't have here. Vaporeon's actually really frail on the Phys Def side if you don't invest. So you see it is going to take a close combat here. I just wanted to see how much it was going to do and how much I could do back to it. Based on that, I was able to figure out that he was obviously invested offensively and not invested defensively. So it wasn't bulky, so I was able to adjust my calcs accordingly. I went ahead and protected on this next turn, just to grab a little bit more leftovers recovery because I knew that I was going to want to be able to take a Draco Meteor from whatever this Hydreigon was. Kind of a risky switch to go into Bramblegast here because he could switch it up and go for some other move. By the way, I did consider going into my defensive Volcarona, but I figured it wasn't out of the realm of possibility for him to have a rock move. I didn't want to risk that. And then I calc Shadow Sneak, which I did have, and at -1 defense, it's like, it just barely misses out on a potential KO. So I didn't really want to risk anything there, and I thought about Strength Sapping him, so that way I could like more reliably deal with all that stuff. But there's, he might have Defiant, and I don't want to fuck with that. So he hard switches to Clawitzer, which I thought was kind of a weird play, and I caught it with my Roaring Moon, because I was like, okay, he's either going to go for Ice Punch or Ghost Move, and oh, if he went for Ice Punch, I would have been real dumb there. I think I was more worried about a Ghost Move. So I pulled in Roaring Moon against the Clawitzer. Now, I thought about this turn for a while. Obviously, my Booster Energy activates. And you know what? This is, we're going to be reviving a segment that we had before. It's Teachable Moment. So he had some issues with the calcs. He was talking to me about it on Discord during the battle, which was interesting. So, let's get rid of this stuff. So this is normally 55. So this is the calc he was seeing, and he's just like, okay, Acrobatics does like 30% max to my Clawitzer. I don't know if this was his exact spread, but let's say it was this. Yeah, I don't know, might have been. Well, this is my actual Roaring Moon. He might have been seeing a Jolly one. I think that's the standard. Yeah, so this is probably the calc he was seeing. Kind of a wacky thing with the way Booster Energy works with Acrobatics in this, because if you take away the Booster Energy, right, you get the boosted Acrobatics, but then you don't get the Photosynthesis boost, so you'd have to click Sun. And also, the Sun button doesn't seem to work on here. See how it doesn't illuminate? So then this is the calc you're seeing. But I think the best way around that I found is, let's throw the Booster Energy back on there. The fastest way is just bump this up to 110, because the Booster Energy is going to be burned. That's how it'll work. And then also, even this is the calc he might have been seeing if he calced it right, but I also terrestrialized into a flying type, so this is the calc he would be seeing. I figured he can't KO me with anything, even if he throws off like an Ice Beam. Oh, that's Ice Ball, but you guys get the idea. Here, let let me throw it up there for real though. So I figured it was worth it because at this point my booster energy's burned. Let's just get the damage I can. But that's, you know, just little breakdown of the calc for people who are having trouble calcing that, because I feel like the booster energy stuff, particularly booster energy acrobatics, which I guess is a exclusive problem to Roaring Moon, that'll come up. So I just decided to terrestrialize and go for it here. I considered Dragon Dancing, but I also didn't really want to risk some sort of wacky shit happening, like getting frozen on a Dragon Dance. I would have looked like a big dummy. Also, so Hydreigon comes out, which screams to me that he is Choice Scarf. Because otherwise, you would just die. But I can live any attack that this goes for if it is Choice Scarf. So he drops the Draco Meteor, only does 60%. I did have a little bit of this 52 special defense investment, which is going to come into play in a little bit. It drops that Draco, I can go for Dragon Claw, this Hydreigon's dead. In comes Hatterene. I go for the acrobatics, doesn't quite pick up the KO. Also, another teachable moment here. Talonflame is A, faster, and B, has priority Brave Bird. Could have picked me off here. He declined to do so, probably because he was unfamiliar with how that worked. That's another one of those. Teachable moment. I don't like that jingle. If anybody wants to make me a different little noise to put in there, I'd appreciate it. So the acrobatics isn't KO. Whatever. I've lost my Roaring Moon. He's put in more work than he should have at this point. He goes for Dazzling Gleam, which doesn't KO. Again, in the calcs, make sure you click this check mark because it'll adjust the calcs accordingly. Because you see, like, Dark Pulse to a Flying Roaring Moon does that much. To a Dark Roaring Moon does that much. See? Huh? Look out for that, guys. I know a lot of people do know that, but again, we have some new players who might need a little bit more coaching. So there's that. So I've gotten more mileage out of this Roaring Moon than I should have. I figured, you know what, I'll take the 2 7/8 of a kill, and then, well, I'm going to take this third one here. I figured he's going to sack it, but he doesn't. He throws Iron Treads out there, which is pretty wild, because I should be able to no, I guess I didn't outspeed this. How much speed did I put in? I guess I didn't care about outspeeding Iron Treads because I assumed I would be Dragon Danced. But you know what? Like I said, got 2 and most of one other kill, and some chip on Iron Treads. I can play from here. He goes for Earthquake. Same issue in the other calc. Like, you gotta. He wasn't seeing that I was flying type. Moving on, Annihilate comes out. That's a free kill. Bo Callahan here has put in so much work. Some people said he was a bust. That's why he dropped to 7th in the draft. But the Seahawks were happy to have him there. But then he finally realizes the thing he could have done so many turns ago and goes into Talonflame. I could have very safely just gone into my Scarf Sandy Shocks and gotten the KO here, but if you have an opportunity to get a Head Smash KO, you go for that, right? You simply have to. So that's the end of that battle. You know, Chris is still learning. He obviously made some changes to his team. I think this is a big learning process for him. It's hard to jump in 17 seasons after a lot of the other people have been doing this and been living this for a long time. So, but he's got one more week with a slightly new team, so we'll have to see how he does in the future. Moving on to a battle that is neither fun nor entertaining, is we have Dakota versus Mike. Let's get into this. I'm going to put it on fast and just kind of talk over it. So, easy U-turn out for Noivern here. Crocolore comes in. Crocolore's been a real big workhorse for Dakota this season, being able to take a lot of hits, firing off a yawn there, forcing that out. Encore. Don't know what he was encoring there, because this thing's obviously going to switch out, or it's going to go for Wish, Play Rough, Body Press, all of which do very little damage, to no damage in some cases. Tinglu's going to come out on the Clodsire, just threatening to try to Earthquake it. Does manage to get poisoned, that sucks. Really going to decrease Tinglu's viability, but he is going to manage to get up rocks. Multiple ways of clearing them on this team, including one of the things directly in front of him. This is the Ruination, which I do think probably comes into play, because this is not heavy-duty boots, so it's going to be taking some damage. And he's Life Orb, which is also crazy. He just wants this low kicks to die. Crocolore is going to slack off here. Got to stay healthy. I think Dakota has done a pretty good job of, like, I don't know, like, Crocolore hasn't done a bad job this season on the coast. He's taken a lot of hits, but I feel like that's all it's done. It hasn't really slowed things down. It's slowed down the pace of the battle, but it hasn't, like, checked enemies, is the thing. He's just been using it as a wall to, like, do very little chip damage, sometimes put stuff to sleep. I just feel like it isn't really benefiting him like it is Brett in the other league. Garga's going to come in and take a bunch of damage from that body press. Another body press doing a big chunk of damage. Salt Cure is going to start to chip it down here, because he's not Covert Cloak like some people have been a lot lately. But, you know, Mike's just going to go for the KO there. Oh boy, it's going on for a while. U-turn here, grab a wish, Crocolore's here. Gonna miss the play rough, which doesn't matter. Would have done such little damage, it's irrelevant. This would have been at like 89% instead of 99%. Probably even more than that, yeah. Yawn comes out again. So that's the thing. Crocolore is forcing switches, but not always like for any benefit. And Tinglu's getting worn down. He doesn't have wish support on Florges this week. I believe he's Scarf Florges. So that Tinglu is as healthy as it's going to get. So that's a problem, I think. Crocolore is going to keep getting chipped down. I think he's going to go... goes for an Encore there again. I don't know what, like, matchup he's trying to force there with the Encore. But these rocks are... Like, the switching is definitely forcing Mike to take a lot of... Okay, fine. We got a KO 25 turns in. The switching from the Yawn and everything is forcing Mike to take more hazard damage than I think he wants to. And then he ends up surprising the Doc Spun with a Scarf Moonblast there. But obviously Mike figures out that the only reason he could have outsped him is that he was Choice Scarf, so he goes into the Pokemon that resists Moonblast. And is going to just go ahead and fire off an Earthquake, knowing that the other potential switch into a Telegraphed Gunk Shot is this Magneton. And he's going to try to hit the Magneton, actually ends up hitting the Crocolore for super effective damage. Not a lot of damage, mind you, but still super effective. He's going to go for a Yawn, force another switch, keep this Crocolore very low, burn a Slack Off, and he's really going to be pressuring this Crocolore to burn a lot of those Slack Offs. Even to the detriment of going to sleep, because he knows he's not really in any danger here. Psychic comes out, also does a paltry amount of damage. That Gunk Shot, I'm pretty sure would have KO'd or done like 70%. This Florge is not particularly bulky. I think it has a little bit of defense, but not enough to like take that well. Wouldn't have tanked it for sure. Gunk Shot comes out there. He has burned 3 of them, which is unfortunate. Against this team, this is obviously going to be a long battle. Good Terra there by Dakota. Good defensive and offensive Terra in the same move there, because did 48% of this Magneton and dodged the Earthquake. You see, this is the fun side of Terra. I know I've been railing against it pretty hard, especially if you listen to the East before this one, but that's the fun side of Terra. So now, you know, Mike's going to counter and turn into a ground type, so good defensive Terra for him there, because now Terra Blast is going to be doing less damage, and he's going to try to Curse up here, which I think is ill-advised to bring Curse against a team that has Unaware. I don't like it. I don't think he should have done it. Crocolore is going to come in and show off why that was a silly idea. Low Kicks is going to come in. See, that's the thing. Low Kicks, if he had taken that, what's the word? That Ruination a while back, would have been on a lot lower HP. Probably dies on a switch in here. So there's that. Dragapult finally comes in to try to scare this thing out. We get a big Choice Bandit U-turn doing a pretty good amount of damage. Jiminy Cricket here is going to come in. See, that's why that Ruination mattered, because I think he came in at 75%. He would have lost half of that, which is 33.5%, something like that. So he should have 33.5% less HP than he has. So he'd be dead. He would have been dead. But he's able to get out this Leech Life KO on the Garganacl. And now he's in Death to Stealth Rock's range. So, okay. Here's another... This isn't an issue I have with terrestrialization, although If we limited terrestrialization in some sort of capacity, this would be less of a problem. When people put Terra Blast as a move on a Pokemon and then don't terrestrialize that Pokemon, in most cases, there's some niche ones where it's not, it is a useless move. This Noivern, granted, this moveset's not great, is max Fizz Def, max speed, U-turn, Terra Blast, I think Defog, or no, it's Roost, U-turn, Terra Blast, Defog. I might have just said that anyways. So Terra Blast is useless since he already Terra'd with Magneton, so now he's lost a coverage move on here. And since you have to plan as though every Mon can Terra, but you can only Terra one, some Terras are inherently going to be better in certain matchups. I don't know. It's just, I don't think it's a fun way to plan. Again, I don't want to, I've said enough. I've said enough this week. Tune in next week for more Jeremy complaining about terrestrialization. But the hazards are gone. That's big. Granted, Dakota has opportunities to get them back up. Ting-Lu is still alive, but for the time being, they're gone, and that's big. Clodsire gets burned, which is going to slow the pace of this game down quite a bit. Fishing for a poison here, I don't think that was the best idea. Also, encoring it, probably not the best idea. He has burned quite a few gunk shots now. He's only down to 2 gunk shots left, but that's pretty funny how that worked out. I don't know why he was going for Terra Ground there. Flash Cannon does more, if not... Yeah, it does more to everything on the field. With the exception... No, that's it. More to everything on the field, full stop. So, Terra Blast is a bad move there. If he'd gone for Flash Cannon, the Cryogonal probably takes... Because I'm pretty sure this is Analytic. It's modest Analytic, max HP, all that stuff. Would have done a lot of damage to that Cryogonal. Maybe takes it out of the fight. Maybe gives him an opportunity to get a Prox later. Hold on. Okay, back to business. We're only halfway through this battle, so let's go hyper fast here. So this exchange happens for a while, where Mike's just gonna try to whittle this down, burn a bunch of these slack-offs off, keep his Crocalor low, and he gets it pretty low. He does use his last slack-off there, but this is as healthy as that Crocalor is getting now, because again, he doesn't have any way to keep it healthy. I don't know why he kept it in the back. I don't know what it checks at this point. You know what? He's got a lot of... We got a lot of mileage out of this low kicks, considering it was supposed to be dead. But even then, you take advantage of the options that you have here. Honestly, at this point, what's Dakota gonna do? This Florges is still Choice Scarfed, but he's got a... He could kill the Clodsire? He'd probably kill the Clodsire from this range. Can't kill the Cryogonal, can't kill Corviknight. So, he gets the one there. But I think he could have killed Clodsire at that point, or at least it might have been a roll, which I think you have to try to take. But Corviknight's obviously going to be able to take on that. We've seen the interaction between these two before. Clodsire's burned off a lot of PP. He only has 2 gunk shots and 1 Earthquake left. So that's bad for that, but really it just has to be around. It doesn't have to do anything else. So there's this whole exchange here that is just an absolute travesty. Just going on for a very long time. I just don't get it. I don't get what's to be gained here. I think that... Because also at this point in time, whatever your Dragapult set is can probably clean up. You've seen pretty much everything from Noivern. I think you're going to see the last move from Noivern coming up here in a little bit. I think Mike could have played a lot more aggressively and been okay. Especially after what happened. Oh, that's a shame that he missed another gunk shot. But now that this is gone, okay. So now you're just doing this forever, okay? So this is to the end of the battle, so I'm going to talk over this. Mike says in the thing he was afraid to switch, and so, which I don't understand why, because you've seen this entire Noivern's moveset. It can go for Roost, Defog, not damaging, Terra Blast, which is locked into being normal, and then U-turn, which is resisted by this thing. Could have gone hard and Dragapult, saved himself a 3-0, and saved us 20 turns at the end there. So yeah, he was too scared to not just sack Clod. Scared of what? Like, worst case scenario, you go into Clodsire and he predicted that and 2-hit KOs you with U-turn? In which case, your Clodsayer's still alive and you go hard Dragapult and do what you did. And so it's still a 2-0. So I didn't get any of that. But look, a win's a win. That was a long game with some sloppy plays, but hey, look, a sloppy win is still a win. Now it's time to talk about our marquee match of the week.
Marquee match of the week. Now we have a theme.
Our marquee match of the week's another relatively quick one between Mitch and Zach here. So we start off with the Glamora, and I gotta tell you, Zach just plays this super well. We get the Earthquake to break the Focus Sash, knock it down to 1. Toxic Spikes go up. I like the idea here for Mitch to block the Rapid Spin to keep these up, but he just gets picked with the Ice Shard. So he burns his Terra, loses his Glamora, and the Rapid Spinner that has Sturdy is still on the field. When you could have just got, if you were worried about the Rapid Spin, you could just go hard Golden Go. I don't really think that did enough for you there. I mean, I get the idea 100%, but it's a bad spot to be in where the only thing you have to show are 2 suicide, like some little Caltrops here. It's a rough spot. You know, makes a hard like prediction there to like force the double. Can I make this so I don't scroll at all? No, that's not how that works. Okay, that's a little better. Sorry, guys. Yeah, let me take it back a few. So, that time he tries to block the Rapid Spin, is successful, but then he's going to go back to the Quagsire, take a knockoff, and then I think he's playing mind games here, so he's like, now he's going to go for the knockoff again. But now the hazards are just gone. But I think worth it to get a Toxicon Donphan. You can play around with that, but your hazards are gone in exchange for mostly nothing. Meowscarada's going to come in, obviously scare this out. Easy read by Zach to just U-turn out, so that way he doesn't have to, like, deal with any of that. I feel like this is choiced in some way. I don't remember if we find out for sure. But Donphan's in. It's going to go for the Earthquake, not do a ton of damage to this Brute Bonnet. This Brute Bonnet doesn't have, like, a great matchup versus this team. Mitch is doing a lot of, like, really aggressive switches, which I admire. But I just don't know if they're, like, what the goal is here. So we see the close combat come out. Like, I think a bug move, I mean, it would have done not a lot of damage to Skeledirge, but I think it would have been better in that spot. But things are going to start to get out of hand here because we see the burn come out, and we're going to see this follow up with the Hex, which honestly does so much damage. Way more than I thought it would. Considering this is likely Unaware Quagsire, it might not be. Pretty sure it is. It'd be weird if it wasn't. So, Skeledirge the Toxic on it. Not something you see super often, but Quagsire's down. That's a big door opened for Zach. This crit sucks, but also I don't think it totally matters. Overheat as your best way of dealing with Skeledirge at this point is an indictment on what your strategies here are. That missed, it would have done 21%. He would have done to 48%. I don't think that really changes how this all goes. Donphan's gonna come in. This is, I think he Earthquakes? Or is he Rapid Spin? It's pretty cool if he Rapid Spins. Oh, it goes for the knockoff. Just gonna get rid of this Choice Band on the Brute Bonnet. I mean, this is a pretty strong Brute Bonnet at this point. But he was Choice Band. He had Spore. I don't hate that inherently, because sometimes, like, you know, the obvious switch would be Tinkaton a lot of the time. So, or Skeledirge. So you just go for the Spore to catch one of those things. I don't hate it. To go for this is a very aggressive Spore. Mitch is playing super aggressive, which I think is probably a good idea to do against Zach, especially because he's behind. So I guess, you know what? I'm getting behind these plays now, because I've said before, like, you need to be aggressive to... If you're playing from behind, you gotta start to get aggressive. You can't play passively. I think we saw that in the last game we just watched, a 108-turn game. Dakota was down, but he wasn't making aggressive plays. He was making the play he had to make to get to the next turn. But he really was not in any position to do anything, right? Like, he wasn't going to win from the plays he was making. Here, Mitch is making aggressive plays, which are putting him in the back sometimes, but at least he's trying to win here. Tinkaton I've also been impressed with. It's actually pretty spadef. It's got a pretty good move pool. I've liked it so far. I don't even know if Zach's clicked a Gigaton Hammer with it, but he's done well with it thus far. But I just don't know what else to say because Zach's pretty much in the driver's seat. He's just gonna make it rain a couple of times just till this Tinkaton's gone. He's gonna chew another knockoff there. I'm surprised at how many knockoffs this thing's able to take. But ends up getting things pretty close. You see the knockoff come out here from Meowscarada, and then I think but it's choiced. It is choiced because otherwise it would just U-turn out and kill this Brute Bonnet. It's funny, if he hadn't terrestrialized, Sucker Punch would have done less damage. He would have probably been able to get the 2-hit KO with Meowscarada, but Passimian will get the KO, so that's nice. That ends it. Zach only has one more game left, and he is still undefeated. So let's head over to the dock, not this, we're done with that calc, and let's take a look at our MVPs first of all. So we've got Roaring Moon, got 5 KOs this week, didn't deserve hardly any of them, but that is enough to put it tied with Iron Moth on the leaderboard. Florges also trailing behind at 8. Bellybolt, surprise inclusion, Florges at 10. Bellybolt, surprise inclusion at 8. Skeledirge, best fairy type in the league, doing well here. Iron Treads over here is our Iron Man in this division. Also helped out by a forfeit from the owners. Because, these two, not Hydreigon, King Gambit, yeah. So, since they missed a battle, they're not on the list, obviously, but Iron Treads made it to every battle, fainted every time. Well done. And also, crowning achievement so far, no Life Orb KOs. Only one more week, guys. Let's get no Life Orb KOs in the West. That doesn't happen out here. But let's head over to the standings, see how things are going. Zach has locked up a first round bye, so he doesn't have anything to play for unless he wants to try to influence the seeds. Drew and Chris are both locked out of playoff contention, so they're just playing for fun here, right? Okay, so let's break this down. If I win, I have a tiebreaker over Mike. Mike cannot pass me, so I win and I get the first round bye. If I lose and Mike wins, then he gets the first round bye because he'll have one more win. What else can it impact Mike? If Mike loses, he holds tiebreakers over all teams except for Mitch. So a Mitch win, Darren loss, and Mike loss puts Mitch in the 3rd seed, and Mike would drop down to, I don't think Mike can't go lower than the 3 seed. So the 3 and the 4, well, I mean, Mike can be any of these, right? Okay. I already told you what Mitch has to play for. Mitch wants to try to get a win just to push himself out of that Mitch needs a win and a Detroit loss because that will mean he only has to win one game to go to playoffs. We already talked about Darren. A loss doesn't hurt him too bad. Again, if he wants to make it to playoffs, and you want to have as many wins as you can, just so that way you stay out of that spot. But there's a chance he might actually be able to hang on to his spot even with a loss. You just want to at least be in these 3 and 4. He can't play for the 2. There's no way he makes it up there. Or wait, is there? No, there's no way. Because even if he beats me, then we're both 4 and 3. And then even if Mike loses, they're 4 and 3, but Mike has a tiebreaker over him. So Darren's playing for a 3 or a 4. That's what he wants. On the other hand, let's see what Dakota. I'm just looking at London, and I'm like, I can't think of a name because those are both locations. What does Dakota have to play for? He doesn't hold the tiebreaker over either of these teams, so he needs both of them to lose. And then if he wins, he could jump up to the 4th spot. So if he wins and these 2 teams lose, then he just has to beat Zach. Simple as that. And he can make it up to a play-in game, or a 1-game play-in game. So good luck with him for that. But just the way things are going, he's got a lot of things working against him. He's probably going to have to win 2 games to go to playoffs. But let's see what the matchups are. We got the aforementioned Zach and Dakota. Dakota's got a lot to play for. Zach has very little. That could work in Dakota's favor. He has won in the past, in the last week, against teams who had nothing to play for while he still had stuff to play for. So he's got experience in this spot. Both Washington and Michigan playing for good seeding in the playoffs. So definitely interesting spot. If you're hearing chewing in the background, that's my dog chewing. Don't fret. That's what's happening. Salem, Kalamazoo. Both of you are playing to avoid a golden Magikarp because, actually, Salem most of all, because now, spoilers, it's up already. Tyler did manage to get a win in week 7, so Drew's looking to avoid the golden Magikarp here if he can. Just try to get a win. And then I'm playing Darren. Already talked about it at length, the stakes for that game. But that wraps it up. Thank you to D24 Designs for our logos. Thank you to Brett for all the work he does in the dock. And thank you guys for listening to this all season. Got one more week of regular season games, then we're on to playoff coverage. So we will see you next week. Goodbye.